too. Wait. I forgot that I need to give it like a second or two. Yeah. I don't really understand, like, why, if there is not going to be that much delay, then what's the point in me? Like, it takes a second for the signal to reach YouTube. I'm actually trying to think out it. In a way, it's something along the lines of there is no delay, but now it's going to take a while before it reaches the server. The whole, you actually sent the signal to start the stream, so yeah. And in the other hand, it also doesn't really have that much of a substance. But the point is, I don't know, I am surprised that it truly needs to take so long in terms of, yeah. You know what you are trying to do today? You'll have to wait for that for a little bit, for 1 second even, but you have to wait. If you want to see the stream start, you have to wait. It's something that my real complaint is comes from the place of I have to unavoidably, no matter what, always wait. Like, I don't instantaneously hit go live and you get the exact same signal as when I send the message myself, basically. Like, yeah, basically that. And I don't know. For me, it's amazing. At least in my eyes, it's strange enough to. What? Strange enough to not make that much sense. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, besides this. Also, I found out something amazing. I thought I had to worry so much about making miniatures and whatnot. Not really, in the end. The streams get the miniature defined after. I think it has to do with like video processing and whatnot. You need to wait for a second or two so that the video itself gets once again processed, and once it does get processed, you can see exactly what's going on. Also, the only issue is gonna be we're having lag internet. How are we having internet problems, brother? Okay, give me a second then, just in case. Today we're also gonna be internet testing, I guess. Holy, will it actually crash? For the love of God, will it actually crash? I'm going to crash out if it does. Let me set up the message on Discord anyways. It can happen, I guess. It can very much be the case. Don't you like? It's not like. Don't you feel completely passionate about things? Doesn't it fill you with energy? Doesn't it satisfy all your urges and desires to see that indeed things can go wrong out of nowhere? Yeah. Don't we love in this house faulty technology? Something about the availability of it with no real meaning whatsoever, because in the end, what's the point of this being so out there if in the end none of those things can anyways impact anything? Also, yeah. I am waiting for the Discord to actually load. There we go. How long did that take? Are we still lying? We're not dropping that many frames. We have dropped like only 6%, which, like, you spend more time of your life being asleep, basically, so it's not really that well. But yeah, for me, it's significant enough to actually be annoying, I guess. Anyways, let me put this over here and this other link. Today, Freeform. There we go. Your browser encountered an error while decoding the video. Thank you so much for that. Ah, yeah, yeah. So I can close these tonight. So, what else are we looking for? Let me open this other tab. I don't know. At least to me, yeah, it's strange enough to actually see that. No, not strange. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just annoying the whole fact of yeah, so many things in itself. Not that they can go wrong and just that already is annoying, but simply the reality of we don't really mind if things are not working out. The whole what was the proper premise? How do you think out it properly? I I haven't trying to remember the proper words. It's not so much about learned helplessness, but rather the whole quality of because this thing doesn't annoy me enough. I don't really want to change it. I can I am bleeding out one drop of blood every single day. Or maybe what's the reasonable amount? A human being can only lose like 5 liters of blood before they die in a short enough amount of time. So instead of losing 5 liters of blood every single day, you're losing perhaps 500, how much? Milligrams, let's say. And because that much doesn't really kill you, you have no reason to actually try to see something to fix it. Not because you truly have no reason to complain, but simply because you choose to not do so. The whole aspect of, yeah, we right now possess an stability good enough to not have to worry about needing to change things around or needing to make the world a different place and needing to solve this thing. Maybe in the act of solving this problem, so many more will arise. And I don't know, I don't think so. Today I don't really think so. Today I don't come with that mentality. Today it's a different day. Today I'm just tired. I want the world to be a better place, brother. I want things to look better. I don't want to keep on dealing with the same 5 problems and finding no way to solve anything. Yeah, yeah. So much of yeah. It's for me. It's crazy. The whole aspect of what we are completely aware of these problems, of these situations, of these things in general. And what are we actually going to do about them? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And our life gets affected every single time something like this happens. Every single instance. One of these events occurs. But what shall we make happen to not let this be anymore so much of a situation of a troublesome thing at the very least? Nothing. It isn't killing us, so no need to do anything. Today, I should wait. I want to do one thing before starting. I thought about it and I did forget. I was about to hit the switch scene. Let me actually set up something like a clock. Can I do it rapidly? There is no button to set up an alarm. Configure. How does Windows not really have any? Isn't it like the main operative system? How can this thing exist without any tool to actually set up an alarm quickly? Let me this whichever one works for me. How many hours? What am I going to try to aim for 3? Because otherwise I'm going to lose it. Otherwise I'm going to forget that I have to I have to do this for more than just 2 seconds. It's anyways, here we are. Good morning. It has been a long enough instance of time since the last occasion that we were here, so yeah. Good evening. It's good to be back, I guess. Not that I guess. It's good. In itself it's good. It's just things life has been quite an interesting journey lately. Yeah, yeah. What a world! What an absolutely astonishing world! You know, sometimes you don't really expect so much to catch you off guard out of nowhere to see so many wonderful aspects of reality, so to speak. You know, it's something about the whole. Also, can you even listen to my networks? I hope not, because I'm going to lose it. Like, I will need to listen to myself. I want to assume that you can't, and I want to go with that. Anyways, I was saying, yeah, good to be back. Good to be after so long back. How long has it been? No clue. These last couple of weeks have actually been feeling like months. I don't know, or something about the whole reality of, oh no, yeah, you know, the year is passing so rapidly. I do not agree with that theory today. I tried to say something about that last time. Sometimes when you're doing things in general, you can encounter that perhaps it's not so much the case that life passes you by, so to speak. You know, the whole. I encounter myself in a position in which I have the sensation that no matter what I do, no matter what I try, time keeps slipping out of my hand, and I keep on just experiencing the mere existence moving in front of me. I am not an active participant. Okay, what a great take you can have on that. Sadly, I am not in that same position. I cannot, I cannot wait for time to move faster. Something about the world being so full of things, so full of it's a combination. It has its good things, it's absolutely horrible things. All of it, all of the things that this universe has to offer, I guess. All of those combined to make up the present. All of the things that we get to possess in our hands after you just sit down and see what remains after you just exist. And all of that still feels like, maybe no, maybe I am actually quite capable of doing things, and sadly, there is so much to do. There is maybe the expression of there is not enough time can be quite a correct one, but it doesn't make time pass any faster. The whole weight, what, how to say it? The whole weight of every single second accumulated throughout the whole act of being awake, the realization that existence in itself is a continuum act which requires more than just an input from time to time, which in itself therefore forces the human to realize which things they are interested in doing, the continuous performance of all of those objectives, goals, dreams, whichever it is that you have, all throughout the day, and the pressure that comes with trying to do something that you say matters to you, trying to be something that you are content with being, trying to move yourself in any one direction in which you can say, yeah, indeed, I am doing so, and I am not anymore encountering myself in a desolate place in which it's just going back to the place of observation from the outside the boundaries of reality. And all of that is tiresome. I don't know, something about, oh wow, how quickly does the year move. I wish it had moved faster. I wish I would pay for that to happen. But no, anyways, point being, it has been a good couple of months, I guess, where we are done with April. Thank God we are done with April. It has been a good enough couple of days. Yeah, this month also. Yeah, and I don't know. I guess happy about things in general. I cannot really say it's something so so much as to actually celebrating about it in terms of, oh wow, such a substantial passage of time. There is also, I haven't tried to analyze a lot of things, and in the process of doing so, there is the weight of the incoming realizations, the process of accepting that the next thing which you had to understand might as well yet again criticize what you assumed you were in the, I don't know, it's, I don't want to say it's psychology, I don't like when things get too enclosed into just one category. I think any single aspect of the human being has to do with the constant effort to grasp what you are, to do, to be something which you can at some point say you're proud of being and such. And in the conception, in the process of conceiving such a thing, you also have to come with terms, come into terms, sorry, with the realization that, yeah, you know what, this thing that I see, this thing that I am, these multiple things that I have been doing might as well not be the most useful one, might as well not be the most, I for the sake of not making it so hard on getting to the point, optimal ones and efficient ones and capable of actually leading to result ones and whatnot. And in all of that, there is the constant, or as long as that process exists, basically, the person has to then assimilate the reality of, okay, then that means that I was doing something wrong before, and now I have to correct that. I have to letting go to some degree. If you can truly understand what needs to be abandoned, there is not so much of a problem in getting to have that happen. In most cases, the rationality of the person gets overshadowed by the very same other side of the rationality which brought forward these very same problems, basically, to the degree to which it gets painted almost as if when you try to understand what needs to go, you are going to not ever be capable of moving forward simply because you already rationalized other things that you have been keeping existing in yourself, in your acts and whatnot. And because this gets painted under that light, because this gets discussed and addressed in these ways, you can assume that it is so much, but as long as the person can, the whole aspect of objectivity, as long as I can actually keep myself honest with, I know that I am actually sometimes saying things just for the sake of keeping them there. I am just saying things. What's a good example? I don't really like to smoke. I don't really enjoy the act of smoking. I don't really enjoy the act of putting any kind of vapor of fume inside of my lungs, which slowly kills me, But I do so because I don't really feel like not doing so is enough for me. In the whole aspect of, I don't really know if I deserve to not hurt myself in the process. Something out the self-flagellation that almost any single human being goes through at some point of their own existence, and the aspect of, okay, I will assume that this is what I require, this is what I shall possess, what I shall have, be, and such. And in doing so, it brings forward the issue, the reality of, I am not really doing something good, but if I cannot admit that, I cannot really get rid of the problem itself. Like, if I cannot admit that I am, in this case, the underlying assumption, as I said, was, if by smoking I'm just really finding a way to hurt myself, which doesn't get that condemned, and sustaining it, because once again, all of this gets talked about as something not so bad, not so dangerous or whatever, then there is a problem. There is actually an issue. There is something that should be addressed. And as long as I remain avoidant of that factor, I will still be doing something harmful to myself. But it doesn't have to really do that so much with the logic, like, ah, no, yeah, but you know what, I have no reason to think out this. No. The excuses are a completely different realm from logic itself. The emotionality that you can avoid and the things that you can simply redirect into any other form, into any other direction, into any other way, and whatnot, are not at all the same than this other handful of notions which end up being completely detrimental. And so, as I was saying, therefore, any single person might as well need to do something of this sort. And that's why I once again, I don't really like it under the mantle, under the hood, under the title, or the field only of, ah, yeah, I have been self-analyzing myself for the sake of my mental health. No, no, it's for the sake of everything. Do you want to be a proficient worker? Do you want to be a good woodcutter, let's say, like a good, what is it? It's not woodcutter. What's the real word? Anyways, let's say mason. I don't think it's mason, but I think that the masons are the ones that work with like rocks, stones, and whatnot. But assuming that it is something similar, but I want to be a proficient laborer of these materials. I have to understand first what I am doing wrong so that I can get rid of my bad practices to then finally be capable of performing appropriately my work. Are we really going to say, ah, no, yeah, they did such a deep introspection? I guess to some degree it is related to introspection, yes. That much is acceptable, but that you call it pertaining only to mental health, I don't think. The different field, the racer who analyzes how they tend to behave once they are inside the racetrack in order to better their time, better their performance, their analysis of their own capacities doesn't come from a place of, oh, wow, this is something so deep. It has to do with a general desire to do better, and it gets thrown under the realm only of mental health when it comes to, ah, yeah, and you know what? I have also to analyze these other aspects of myself in the more general spectrum of existence, because it's hard, I guess. I can only rationalize it as myself. It's hard to actually accept that every single person should be willing to do something along those lines. It's hard to actually be capable of saying, ah, yeah, no, you know what? The universal aspect of possessing a critical eye with oneself, a proper enough interest in actually observing what you are, what you do, what you work on, and such things, so that you can do those very same things with an even better with an even better approach, with an even more skilled hand, through a more refined method, and all of those things. It's hard to declare it as so universal, and more so the declaration itself of its universality, the condensation of its necessity almost. I do not want to say that it is something that applies to everyone else, because then we look out there and we see that perhaps 50% of the population does nothing to make this exist within themselves. So what is this implying? That we are not actually doing a work which we should be interested in performing in any way. We are avoiding something that we know, we understand, we are capable of grasping, possesses an importance enough so that we can then lead a better life. And so, going back to the point, yeah, it's actually hard to say things are pertaining only to the realm of mental health, but I guess if you for an extra time for everyone, we can also frame it as yeah, the process of self-analysis and the process of continuous observation of the self and whatnot. And I wouldn't really call it self-actualization, but that's the easiest meaningless term that we can utilize so that we all assume we understand what we are talking about, even if in the end, what is it to try to really self-actualize, to self-care? What does it entirely mean? To be capable of telling yourself that you're doing good, to be capable of admitting to yourself that you're doing wrong, to be interested in admitting something as basic as saying, yeah, I want to do better, to realize when you are doing worse, what is really. But because we don't really want to define any of those things, because we assume that they shall remain still unnamed, unrecognized, undiscussed, then whatever. If you understand what it means to say that, yeah, simply trying to work on things, then I guess you get the point. But yeah, now, as I was saying, I'm trying to do all of that and trying to make sure that it gets to continue happening. I don't know, so many. As I got to mention some bit ago, the whole aspect also of sadly sometimes, because this very simple process requires the continuous effort of actually getting to understand that you're doing something wrong right now, so that you can get rid of that very same problem, to then finally do things properly enough. All of those frictions and all of those encounters with the world end up not in an entirely shocking discovery, but simply in the unavoidable friction of, I don't really think I am doing something wrong. Are we truly doing something bad? Are we truly doing something incorrect or whatever? Am I myself in any way failing or whatever? I don't think so. And the whole, to some degree, yeah, it's the unavoidable craziness of the translation, the translocation, that's the proper word. The translocation of, okay, if I am not doing my best, can I truly say that I am doing good enough? I am still, despite all my efforts to believe of myself as a proper grown-up person, I would rather simply refer to my inability to do well enough as a failure. So I will assume that I am doing bad. And in the whole encounter with those things, it is that I was continuously being assaulted by all of the other aspects of the desire to improve in general. It comes with the added weight of, have you realized how many things are there still to improve? Have you realized how many other things are still available to make sure are still corrected? Because in the end, life is absolutely filled with so many of those very same encounters, so many of those very same kind of situations which you assume that previously were sufficient enough, and you can sustain your life by not modifying them anymore. But it doesn't mean that you have to. It doesn't mean that you should try to not make sure that you're living something good enough simply because you chose to say, no, yeah, this works out as it is. We have already experienced enough times. I have already seen other people itself also say the same thing of, no, yeah, this is good enough. Well, in the end, this is enough for me. Well, around you, the houses are burning down. This is sufficient for me. Well, inside yourself, the interest in not doing any more what you used to say you loved to do fades away. This is great for me. These are great results. Well, internally you're still possessing all that remorse because you realize, no, yeah, I'm not achieving what I want, and no matter what I do, I cannot really get my objectives. I'm still in one way or another of failing, and I don't know. I don't think it's truly that great to decide to ignore all of those factors. To some degree, life doesn't need to be filled with those continuous places of hurt. I remember an incredible expression I heard, not recently. It's recurrently enough to say that I also heard it recently. But give me a second. that one that goes along the lines of, oh yeah, you know what? I got to realize then that life is already hard enough to also add the weight of all the things which I assume I should not speak about anymore. To add, the world is already a harsh place. To also, on top of that, add my internal suffering out of stubbornness. So yeah, I don't know. Trying to be less stubborn and trying to act in accordance with all of that, and trying to do things, and I don't know. Sometimes very slowly slipping into the society of comfort. I'm going to be incredibly afraid of what. No, I try to not think at all about what others have to do, what others have to deal with, how much. There was an expression I heard some time ago at this point, the whole aspect of how amazing it is to actually be doing the work which you realize you can be doing, how much you can actually find substance in deciding to act upon the desires that you possess, not because it is fulfilling, but rather because in the moment of doing so, parenthesis, which also it is, absolutely it is, close parenthesis, but also because it has a lot to do with the reality of, in the moment of you performing what you said you wanted, you encounter sadly how many other times no one else is actually doing that. We love to have a continuous conversation about the aspect of being and the interest and the dreams and the hopes of a person and whatnot. And when you go to look at the actions, the results, and all of those things, it is the sad realization that indeed you are so absolutely hopeful for so many things, yet at the very same time, your hope isn't leading to anything in itself. You're just burning out the very same passion which you say you love so much to have, instead of nurturing that very same thing and making sure that it keeps existing in any way. And because it is so, you then end up encountering, yeah, you know what? You know how I feel today? I don't really have any sensation within me. I don't really have any interest in doing anything. I don't really have a desire, a sensation which gives me any interest in moving forward. I don't have any of those things whatsoever. I only now see, hear, feel like this is all there is, and I don't truly have to do much more. And I don't know. I am, on the contrary, trying to actually keep that being. And in doing so, there is also I feel like it is always, at least for me, the continuous weight of, wow, how you thought about how annoying it is to actually realize now that I finally have the capacity, not right now, as in just the way it happened, but in doing so, it gets so absolutely tiresome to see then how around us so many of those things lead to nothing, how many of those, even what at some other point in time you used to say yourself, was sustained by the completely meaningless structure of existence, how much life is filled with things that are absolutely counterproductive to actually hold on to. The issue becomes, can I admit that they are bad? Or do I have to assume that they are great? Because the admission of their negative qualities, I now impose onto myself a new emptiness which I cannot actually carry forward with right now. The eternal expression of, what is it? What's the translation? Something along the lines of, better, the known devil is better than any harm to know, or something along those lines. Do you know what? Do you know what is magical? Access to internet. I can actually translate that. Let me see. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Wow. Basically that. Is that the actual translation? I think this is a mistranslation. Ah, it is? Wow. Yeah, basically. Basically, yeah, okay. So, I wasn't really wrong. I guess it shocked me for a second that I wasn't assuming it was so negative, yet it is. But yeah, basically, the whole notion of better the devil I know than the one that I have yet to know, because, no, you know what? I have this issue. But what if I get rid of this issue and then this other handful of possible, plausible, potential issues arise out of letting this one not affect me anymore? Do you know how annoying it is going to actually be to have this thing not affect me at all right now? What will do if the other problems that come forward after removing this one are even worse? And because this gets accepted, normalized so much, yeah, it's beautiful to see how many things are sustained under that very same structure. Now I feel like I finally deciphered a little bit. Do you know what? You don't really have to try that hard. Let me face it a little bit more properly. Let me preface the whole analysis. I have, for the last handful of days, I have tried to have a conversation about this idea of how surprising it is to see that actually the human capacity to acquire knowledge isn't that limited. It's just tedious to do the work. It's just annoying to perform the actions which lead to the results. But it's not that you're absolutely stupid, like, I want to avoid the proper word itself because whether it's bad, but yeah, the whole notion of no, yeah, you know what, you are unfit to actually learn. If you try to consume this piece of information, I cannot get it instantaneously and whatnot. And that very same notion, the handful of ideas that have to do with all of that in terms of, no, yeah, you know what, you don't really have to read anything, you don't really have to process, to go through the whole ordeal of consuming all the foundational parts and all the other text which inform the one that you are currently going through, and all of those other things which make it look like in the end, no, yeah, you know what, you have to do your homework. You have no homework to do, you have nothing to work forward to. You will come here tomorrow, you will sit down, and after 10 minutes of looking at a blank page, you will automatically get that. The way in which we tend to act in accordance with that very same notion is the very same reason that in the end, unavoidably, you know what, I will rather prefer to say that it is how things work this way than to realize that perhaps, oh no, you know what, I am harming myself and I am absolutely limiting myself by saying, by deciding, by choosing to remain in a very same system, in an alignment which in the end brings what thing forward? Nothing, because I don't really get to work on things, because I don't really get to improve on my desires, on my capacities, on anything whatsoever, but I instead shall make it look like it is truly the only plausible thing to assume that I am a complete incapable human being when it comes to the act of absorbing information, and doing so is amazing, because after I do that, then I also get to have the in my hands the right of saying, oh no, it's so hard, my brothers, it's so hard. It's not hard. Do you try? Do you give yourself the chance to explore the information? And the frustration comes even from the place of, and it doesn't happen with equals of man. It doesn't happen with other people who are as stupid as me, if you want to say it like that. No. You can see it even on the face of a professor of, you know what? It's so hard. It's so far that you don't get the information. Maybe it's just not for you. You have to consider and abandon all your hopes. This is such a difficult topic to talk about. Don't worry if you don't get it. What? How come we're so willing to give up so much when it comes to all of those illusions, to all of those dreams and interests, desires and hopes of the person? It's completely annoying to see all of that, to see it so normalized to begin with. But yeah, from that very same point, it is that I therefore say, no, yeah, on a world level, it's hard to actually continue acting like all of those things don't really matter because in the end you realize, ah, this thing which I myself used to say was absolutely damaging. How many times have I actually also told somebody, you know what, doesn't matter, you don't get this text, give up. You don't get this piece of information, just shrug and move on and do something else entirely. That tiny bit of interest that you possess right now, maybe that last kindle of hope, of desire that you have been capable of channeling into anything that you do, completely squish that and completely diminish all of its value and go try luck next time if you can. But I don't know, I don't really think it has to be like that to begin with, and secondly, there is also the whole aspect of it's annoying enough. I feel like salary, it's absolutely annoying to see it. At this point, yeah, I have gotten tired enough of out of that. But like suddenly, yeah, it's good enough to be capable of admitting that at least those things were wrong. Try to, after this point, not have them exist anymore within one's own life. That much is doable. But besides that, the whole aspect of, and you know what, now we also have to work on making sure that we're doing the things that we are interested in doing. We have to make sure that we are acting in accordance with the hopes that we know we possess, that we know we harness and such. And all of those other facets of life are a little bit more difficult also. Because in the end you realize, what if they were also to some degree harmful? What if they were also to some degree not working all that well for me? What if the substance of those habits, I'm just slowly chipping away at what I am, or at what I do, or what I wish for? Don't I really wish for some things? Don't I really say, don't I, as a human being, have the capacity to do something? How can I then act like none of that matters because I am simply being confronted, being given, being shown the possibility of a different pleasure which doesn't have so much to do with these very same qualities which I have decided to slowly. I don't want to admit that I am destroying them, but at least I am not taking care of them. And I don't know, I think it's, to be alive is crazy. That's the conclusion that I can give you. To be alive is absolutely crazy. It's surprising enough to see how many of those exist and how much we're actually willing to have that be the case. I don't think anybody or everybody, much less, is forced to have to sit through that, to have to go through all of that. But no, really, for me, it's crazy to encounter that indeed. There is still a lot of work to do, and there is still a lot of things to keep on powering through. But I don't know. I don't say it as if, oh no, tomorrow I don't know if I can continue doing that tomorrow. I just think it's crazy the quantity, but I don't think, I don't know, something about you're so cynical. Do you lack the capacity to actually just complain about things? Can you not picture yourself saying, this thing annoys me, and keep moving with your life? Does any kind of instance in which you vociferate the things which are distracting you, the things which are putting you in any kind of discomfort, as something in which you stay eternally on that, as your declaration only of your desire to abandon, or existent only when the person has decided to completely let go of everything that they wish to achieve? How do you actually think it works? I can admit all the problems that I see, and not because of that find myself uninterested or distracted from the act of continuing. It's amazing to see that equation exist. You know what? You have to some degree, you can even frame it under the whole category. What I said before, if I dare to talk out what's wrong, what do I do in the admission of this thing as something wrong? So much of the, do you think you're avoidant? You can properly mention the things that annoy you. You are not yet at the stage at which you are absolutely unwilling to acknowledge anything which might be in any way annoying to you, detrimental to your hopes, to your wishes, to your efforts. That's a truly an quote unquote ideal avoidant type, and thank God you're not like that, because you will not have the capacity to confront any kind of problem. But yeah, the point is that, and I don't know, it's just hard to be capable of admitting all of that and then saying, no, yeah, I will tomorrow keep on doing the exact same thing. It's also the added weight of, I realize what's happening, I realize that doing it is absolutely harmful, and now comes the moment of change. Do you know how much effort it takes to... Why do I have to realize anything, man? What the fucking annoying thing? What the tar or something? The world is absolutely crazy. Whenever I finally see what the problem is, now I get an answer to my issues. Fuck. Now I know what I have to do. Now I actually need to put some part of me in solving things. Damn, son. Why? Why did you have to do this to me? But no, it's not really that bad. It's a lot funnier in terms of, it's good, it's actually great. It's amazing to see what solves it. As I said before, the unwillingness to admit any kind of problem is crazy, because you truly believe that in the avoidance of the admission you get to not be harmed. And I don't know, it's crazy to then move forward and say, no, actually I did survive all of these things. It's something along the lines of the panic that the human mind is capable of generating without any external input whatsoever. It's surprising to see that so much of the qualities of the human as that part which only has to do with functions and nothing else, while completely disregarding the reality that, no, suddenly you there pay attention to the emotions, and you will encounter that maybe 90% of the things that I do are moved by that very same thing. Maybe, oh no, let's be very optimistic. Okay, do you want a much lower number, implying that you are a stone cold machine? 40%. Still 40% of you is defined by that characteristic, by that form, by that shape aspect of the person. I don't know. I guess it is still crazy to me to think that, yeah, the point then becomes to eradicate all of that. No, yeah, not, not really, not really. The point becomes to just learn to listen to those things properly, learn to listen to stuff, to sensations, and many more things accordingly. Something, something along the lines. I keep on presenting the same simple example because it is for me significant enough. Like, do you want something simple enough to illustrate that thing? You literally have it here every single day that it happens. It is yet another recurrent evidence of that. You can learn to listen to yourself, even in instances like this one. I am doing something. I am here right now. What's happening? Stream. What happens within, or once I hit go live and we have passed the 8 minutes mark, and I have to change scenes into anything else, there can exist that tingling sensation of, yeah, you know what? Maybe you forgot something. And you know what's amazing? That you can actually pay attention to those things. You don't have to live your life in absolute blissful ignorance of the sensations, of the emotions, of the ideas which arise within yourself. So much of the condemnation of what is your other aspect of yourself. Besides the things that I am capable of proudly declaring are mine, besides that degree of honesty with the rest of the world, I also have that other layer that has to do with, yeah, sadly, I can also sometimes pick up some other cues, maybe from myself, maybe from the environment, maybe from whichever knows where, whenever they happen, and in doing so, I can actually fix things. And you know what? I am thankful because I can do that. You know what? I encounter so many benefits from doing so. Oh no, yeah, you know, it's so meaningless to do that. So you become so distant with the reality. Do you think reality becomes better simply because I'm absolutely grounded in it? Do you think the whole aspect, the eternal conversation of, do you truly even understand what it means to be realistic? Aren't you forgetting how much of a cynical person you're slowly becoming by continuing to consume only what reality offers without you ever contributing anything to it? Do you grasp how much of a necessity itself it is? How much it is necessitated to create something onto reality, to, before having done that, imagine something, have a hope for something, be capable of putting in that land of dreams the previous image of what you're going to do? Do you think people who are completely realistic have the best lives ever? Are you truly sure that is the route you want to take? But I don't know. But I don't know. As always, we have to assume, I don't know. We have to say so. Yeah, I am quite. Nowadays I can say I haven't happier than before it. I haven't continued to progress properly into better directions and whatnot, and that's suiting enough, I guess. Yeah, calming, freeing enough. The realization that the slow things it's to make yet again more sense. Do you know how beautiful that is? That you can keep on making all things be sensible enough is substantial. Something about the desire, the interest in creating this other notion, this other picture where if you were to dare at all to say that, no, yeah, you know what, because things are well, I am now actually being harmed. What are you talking about? Do you know how great is this to be, to find comfort even if existence itself is chaotic? Do you know how much of a usefulness that brings forward even? So yeah, after that, to admit that, yeah, happy enough we can very slowly continuing with all of this. I wasn't really expecting any of that. I keep on saying that. I was assuming we are going to be upon this much sooner, and despite the other, I also many times when I talk about this, I come with the comparison of sadly. I'm surprised that I continue, unlike many other people. I don't like that in terms of why did I continue? What did I have that others didn't? I don't like that. I don't enjoy knowing that I continued while the rest couldn't do it. It's so simple sometimes to just move forward. At times, so great to just make sure that you're working towards stuff instead, and whichever it is that happens everywhere else that right now has nothing to do. No need to no need to allow yourself to compare. Even if it is for the sake of saying that, oh wow, have you seen we're doing so good? It doesn't matter, brother. It doesn't matter at all. Has absolutely zero importance. Absolutely zero. So, yeah. The reality is that we are amazing and we shall continue being amazing. And the future is still a fantastic place. The once you can actually admit the greatness of things, the possibility to look forward and see which possible routes now become accessible enough comes with the added weight of holy fuck, how much effort can I keep on putting into all of these things? The work is never done, but do you know the same meme that always circulates? The whole meme of the guy looking at the two guys in the bus. The one that is looking all sad, like looking at the mountainside of the travel, and the other guy who is looking from the bus at the more panoramic view, more landscape scenery and whatnot. Holy shit, so much still to work on. Holy fuck, so much still to hope for. Amazing. It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And yeah, because of that, sadly, because of that, there are yet way more things to dream about than what I was capable of anticipating before, I guess, yeah, so continuing on all of that and making sure that efforts are being put into places. I don't know, something, instead of what I was saying before, there is also the evaluation of, sometimes I feel like, I hope for, let me go back to the prime example that I gave when I was angry. Sometimes I say that these things matter not because they truly do so, but rather because I am willing to assume, to imply that they have a substance which I am willing to admire in themselves as a possibility rather than to achieve, bring forward any other quality which I can say I am absolutely happy about myself. I don't believe that I can do that myself. The world is far more substantial than I as a singular entity. So I do not have to believe on me. I have to believe on the world. And I have to not believe that I can study hard enough to decipher any piece of information which I encounter. I can instead assume that, yeah, you know what? Tomorrow I am going to open up a book, I am going to read 3 pages, and I automatically, this is going to make any sense. Or all the sense of the world. And I have nothing else to worry about. And when that doesn't happen, when I get annoyed, when I get distressed about that, what can I blame? But yet again, those very same problems that are presented by this very same continuously harmful world. And yeah, I am therefore trying to not have as many assumptions of this sort, trying to continue distilling all of that. It's crazy to see, I guess. The whole aspect of, oh yeah, there are going to be these guaranteed things, and there are going to be these guaranteed. I mean, it's hard enough to admit, because unavoidably you also expect sometimes results. Sometimes the whole it comes from a different place, but I cannot really tell you sources because my memory is garbage. But it has to do with the whole aspect of I can understand. I sit down and I evaluate what really means something to me. So in the process of doing so, I realize at points I am just letting this notion survive. Not because it really gives me much, but rather because its absence leaves me with a hole that I do not really know how to feel right now. And in doing so, in this whole process, I find that sometimes I am also willing to assume that, yeah, these other parts are going to be guaranteed, and because I cannot figure out a way to make them actually come true without assuming this unavoidableness of their existence, like if today we are here, I have all the reasons to assume that tomorrow we are going to wake up. The greatest example, I do not want to think out. Maybe I want to wake up tonight or after tonight. Nobody wants to think out that, but to some degree, it's dangerous enough to be absolutely certain of that. It's dangerous enough, maybe not right now, but it is dangerous enough to never understand at some point you need to do something. The whole notion of I have a limited amount of time in existence. If I have no need to put any pressure onto myself to achieve anything, how can I ever truly say that I am therefore going to be acting towards the hopes that I possess? Why possess any hope if tomorrow I could actually try to start doing that, you know? And all of those things are hard enough to actually act upon once you actually get to realize, yeah, you know what, sadly, I I have all of these other assumptions that also fall under the very same place of, I'm not really saying much, I am just, or I am not really doing much, I am just being a completely hopeless dreamer when it comes to, yeah, this thing is going to guarantee results without me doing anything. This thing is going to unavoidably happen without any input from me. This world is so much more insanitous than what I can ever admit, and because of that, all things are going to go my way. And sometimes, sadly, you need to take some action, and trying to do so is tiresome. So yeah, I don't know. Trying to balance existence in that sense too. I recently enough, I finally was capable also of, for example, finding yet another aspect to all of that, encountering that indeed, unsurprising enough to some degree, but indeed there is quite a lot of, you realize, or did you realize finally, that indeed this missing part, which you were not willing to acknowledge as missing, was unavoidably doing you some little bit of harm, was doing you unavoidably some little bit of, was giving you a little bit of damage over time, I guess, if you wanna say it like that. And in all of those things, in all of those avoided, always present empty places, there is a lot of life that goes by. There is a lot of the very same idea that I said before of, yeah, the human is so full of potential, so much of the potential itself gets wasted once we are so willing to not acknowledge any of those things. So much of life itself gets completely destroyed and diminished by the unwillingness to talk out that. Once again, that's why I began this conversation with I don't like this being emphasized or framed as no, yeah, this is mental health care. No, bro, this is not mental health care. This is about everything. You are a professional, you have to be capable of such things like that. You have to be willing to say, I have a problem, I have this tiny problem, and if I get to fix this, and if I get to solve it, and if I get to get rid of it, things are going to slowly get better. Things are going to slowly work more in my way, as I wanted. I spent so much of myself before wanting things. There we go. I get to fix this piece. And now so many other aspects also get to go back in line as I was hoping for. Amazing. And it's just sad to see it all remain like that in others, but we're not. That's why, also, thankfully, this is not about psychology. I really have to throw in the debate of, you're gonna finally understand these things and decide not to do anything for your neighbor. You are failing. No, 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 no. At least, I guess, philosophy is capable enough of admitting its selfishness in terms of, yeah, you're bettering yourself. You know that, right? Like, quite hard to actually better others, even if you have the tools. Sometimes the whole notion, this one is for you to decide. I guess after having explained for so long, now you decide how true it actually is or not. The other person can only understand things from their perspective once they go through the effort of making sense out of that. If I am not willing to accept something, it will never make any sense to me. Or if others are not willing to make sense out of certain notions, they will always remain unexplainable to them, and irrational, insensual, indisputable in any way. So yeah, you don't have to try. So yeah, point is, besides, as I said, I'm not going to give you which one is it actually, but yeah. Whichever one it is, we don't have to worry about that. The point is, at least personally, doing that work is great. At least doing that work is amazing. And making sure that that happens is more than significant, actually, I guess. Substantial enough to actually let many more aspects of life also keep on flowing, simply put. Otherwise, I don't know, I guess there is so much of a surprising factor in the realization that, but what am I actually doing to make sure that this is going well? Like, what am I actually trying to do to make this move along? And what am I actually trying to let this still remain in a positive form and whatnot? And in many cases, it doesn't really feel like it. Or once you learn to look for things properly enough, quote unquote, you also encounter that sadly there are way too many things that you have sadly disposed of, which you shouldn't have, I guess, and which you shouldn't really have ignored. But yeah, trying to not be so much of an ignorant person every single day is amazing. And admitting ignorance first and foremost to later on get rid of it is more than substantial, beautiful, and actually enabling of progress. Yes, the fundamental aspect of I cannot really do better in the field in which I assume I am the best on, So yeah, maybe there are a lot of things to actually still learn, and yeah, continue to develop that work is also amazing. And I don't know, as I was trying to say before, it feels tiresome to also realize sometimes, and there are so many other fixes to try to implement. There are so many other changes to try to bring forward. There are so many other things to try to make sure happen, and what not. And sadly, you don't really see that much happening because I tomorrow I look at what I thought about today and I say, no, yeah, do I really need to put any work on that? Do I really need to make sure that this is affecting me, that this is letting me change or modify something or whatever? And sustaining those very same realizations throughout time is effortful, I guess. I don't want to say, I don't think it is complicated. No, not that I don't want to say, I don't think it is complicated. I don't think it is hard either. It's just, it requires some degrees of effort that sometimes, maybe, from the side of honesty, yeah, I don't know, do I really want to put all that effort every single day? And sometimes it's quite easy, some other days, I guess. Just as I said before, the whole aspect of getting to understand sensations, emotions, realizations, instincts, and perceptions, and all of those other aspects of the person, all of those things, getting to understand them brings forward also another characteristic, and that is, today I don't really have to sacrifice myself that much. Today I don't really have to. Tomorrow I did enough work. What the fuck are you talking about? Yesterday I did enough work so that today and tomorrow I don't really have to burn myself out as much, or even better, along the lines of what I have been talking about more or so. Today I am freed from the chains that I had on me yesterday. Today I can move on with much more easiness because I am not being yet again anchored to this completely irritating aspect of the world. And you know how great that is? Do you know how useful that becomes? More so because, yeah, there are so many things to actually realize. There are so many other aspects of the continuous of existence to keep on grasping at and keep on understanding, deepening onto. That's one saying. That's why I hate saying that it is only about mental health. Self-analysis should be present at any single level of performance of the human being in general. It has nothing to do with just mental health. It's the capacity to keep on improving and persevering through adversities and to keep on realizing that, yes, we are doing something good, but this is not all that there is to this. Tomorrow we can try to do even better. Not about hoping for perfection and dreaming of the unachievable that is that so high standard. No, knowing that there are some bits to keep on adding, there are some pieces to keep on putting together to make more stuff less annoying. There is so much, the more background white noise you can realize you already have in your life right now, the more you will be capable of realizing in the future you still always had it throughout your entire existence. Without doing the work today, you cannot keep on making sure that this happens tomorrow, nor in any other instance of life. But by assuming that this is meaningless in its entirety, you only harm what you really get to become, you know? There is a lot that has to do with also, yeah, maybe, I don't know if, I don't want to even assume that I am doing well sometimes. Because if I do so, I will assume that there is no need to keep on improving, that there is no need to keep on achieving even greater states of being. Life is beautiful, but what if I tell you that and you think that it is finally time to settle down, to assume that nothing else needs to change? You know how garbage that is? You have it amazing. We can be thinking about these things. Beautiful, but don't remain there that much because you will then come to the realization, to the assumption, to the belief that, yeah, and there is all that we need. No more effort needs to be put into any of these things whatsoever. What are you talking about? But anyways, I need a break. Let me drink some water. I don't even know how much I haven't talking like since the last water break. So yeah, give me a second. Yeah. How dehydrated was I actually? My god. Amazing. Okay, excuse me. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to do that. I say something about forgetting that you need to stop at times. But yeah, anyways, I was saying basically, and I don't know. I think it's surprising to think that there is always so much to work on. And doing so it's also right. I mean, going back to the very same example that I tried to bring forward before, basically, no? There is also something beautiful about realizing that, indeed, certainly, most truly, there is a lot to keep on learning, and it will take so much time. It will take maybe decades to actually get out of these things, but it's doable, and you know what? I am fine with that. At this point, at least I could have I got to realize this thing right now instead of 50 years from now. After having gone through so much of life and having heard so many bells that said, oh no, yeah, you know what? We as humans are so capable of achieving our dreams. We have to just put ourselves to the task and dig until you achieve it. You know how hard it is to actually become good at something? Do you know how complicated it is? What a beautiful machine it has been, the human mind, for so long. How many beautiful notions are out there? How great the world of ideas has become. How much we have progressed since the very early days of antiquity. What a beautiful landscape we have in front of us right now. Absolutely. But for the love of God, how long it takes to reach a proper enough level to move through all of that without feeling like yet another lost child seeing all of the edifices built up by the previous generations and by the ancient civilizations which were capable of structuring such magnificent things to. So yeah, it's good to see. It's beautiful to see that and trying to slowly work towards getting to, I guess. I it becomes like wait I'm slowly moving further and further into my own analogy, but we're getting to finally become a proper architect of ideas and notions and discoveries and whatnot, and all of that is also good enough, I guess, yeah. It's, as I said before, trying not anymore to believe that, oh no, yeah, you know what, it will take just a couple of minutes, and if it doesn't work out, you know what, give up. Do something else. This isn't what really leading to the objectives that we are looking for. It's time to abandon the hope. What the fuck are you talking about? No, man. today we want to actually do something that we like, and it will take as many tries as it needs to until it finally leads to something. And once it does, once it finally gets to do that, we're all going to be happy because it did. We're all going to celebrate for that event and its occurrence. What a grandiose thing. What a more than amazing part of reality that is. What a completely astonishing, beautiful thing it is. And yeah, trying to let that be, then trying to let that happen, then trying to facilitate that very same process too, trying to not be so much a cog which slowly rips apart my own dreams, but rather just a cog inside my own machine, I guess. Get another piece that it does help me instead of something that slowly extinguishes that very same thing that I used to call myself. Just like I can see out there, you know? And I don't know, I guess I am so much amazed by the rest of the world. This is like the unavoidable message after so much of all of this. Because you see, you get to see all of that, all of these things basically. And I don't know, it takes time. But I don't think it really means that because it just takes some time, there are people who cannot do it. I don't know, I am still surprised sometimes by the whole encounter of, yeah, you know what, it is impossible to get out of the current darkness that existence. And I don't know, it's something about also the whole quality of, and then surprisingly, sometimes there are so many other wonderful things going on. There are so many other wonderful things to behold. So many other wonderful things to try to contemplate about. To see. Once doesn't matter if others had it worse than me. What matters is the capacity to accomplish things of the human being itself. Isn't it so much more beautiful than what you can sometimes expect? Aren't there so many more lessons that what you can sometimes admit? Isn't all of this so much more capable of moving on than what even the greatest of fantasies can offer? The very same idea as always. So reality by leaps and bounds surpasses, surmounts any fantasy. And I don't know, I guess, yeah, as always, the weirdest thing, unavoidable, it's sad, but we don't really try to dwell so much on the sad part of hearing that, no, yeah, this isn't so at the least, we had to be here, so we had to do our part. Maybe the day after tomorrow, the year, the decades after these ones, having done all of that will serve for something. Not just for oneself, but also for other things. Something about... I keep on hearing that, and I feel like sometimes it's reasonable that it is a common human goal, but sometimes it also is the aspect of being capable of honestly admitting that in terms of I want to do something significant. And I don't really know if I want to be known. I don't really believe that I want to be remembered. I don't think it matters anymore. I just want to do something useful. And doing that is precious enough already. And being capable of creating that is more than sufficient. There should need to be nothing else after that. How many other things are described as similar to this one is astounding. So many other dreams of sorts, which also are eternally replicated throughout the eras, because despite all of our imagination were still bound to think like a human being in itself and see that indeed, you know what? I can only wish for something that has to do with me and with others sometimes, and I want things to be greater. I want things to be better, and at least now I can say it's reasonable enough to admit. Yeah, we shall be working on that, I guess. We shall be slowly making sure that all of that happens. And I don't know, I sound frustrated most of the time, sadly, when I try to bring up things that are impediments for the flourishment of a person unavoidably. I sound annoyed by all of that because it is in itself bad to see that they are affecting one, but I don't think it only has to do with that. I think there is also a whole lot of, and you know what? What a great thing it is to also see, to also try to get rid of that. Why can I be so willing sometimes to not even attempt to remove these things? Whenever I bring that forward, best notion ever for this argument, you are wrong. Okay, brother, go ahead, try it and demonstrate to me. Do you know what is more significant than just the words themselves? Do you want to be visceral? Do it and be the one who finally shows to the rest of the universe how much we have created a parasitic relationship with this notion, which I dared to call bad, but which once you removed from yourself, realized, started to slowly kill you. Be capable of doing that. Beautiful, absolutely amazing. But don't just tell me, no, yeah, you not want to try anything to make this not be the case anymore. I am you're only in one way or another saying something wrong. And don't stop there. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to you also. There is something beautiful about getting in the present day and era. No matter how much you can listen to that from the outside, there is still such a heavy weight. There is still such a precious value, a completely incomprehensible value behind getting to show some things as true, getting to rectify what we uphold as necessary and not. Do you know how amazing that is? Why don't you try to do that? If you think it is bad to remove something, show that to everyone else. Oh no, yeah, we're moving so far away from these things. How much of life requires that very same? Oh no, the world, yeah, is changing and around me, uh, going in a different direction. This completely distancing itself from me. It's so strange to see that. And once again, I already to some degree discussed that also even. So much of the human spirit nowadays finds itself destroyed by all of those other notions, by all of those other aspects of it, of, no, yeah, you know what? I already tried something, and at the very first encounter with failure, I say, no, this doesn't lead to anything. This doesn't lead to any result that I was looking for. This isn't really giving me what I was hoping for. Now it's time to give up. What? That's the weirdest encounter. Do you know how? That's why I keep saying, what the fuck are you talking about when you tell me that life is so short? In the infinitude of the universe, life itself. Are you the fucking infinitude of the universe? What the fuck are you talking about, brother? What are you doing? Which kind of drugs are you consuming to be thinking about all of those sort of things? Do you get to grasp sometimes how much of an incredibly selfish thing you yourself get to be? What? Your life is so short. Then what about the life of a fucking ant, then? Do you understand how meaningless it is sometimes to be comparing things like that? There is such a precious value in getting to finally say, oh, no, okay, maybe it is short, perhaps it is short, and even if it is short, I want to do something. And I want to do this one thing that, oh no, yeah, life itself is so short. And even if it is something that lasts for just a couple of nanoseconds in the grand scheme of life, in the grand picture of humanity existed since so many millions of years that if you were to put it in a calendar, it will barely be just 30 days, and my existence doesn't even get to last for a second. Okay, amazing, brother. Amazing. What a great, completely fulfilling manner of thinking out yourself. Then assume that even if that is the case, even if it is completely true, completely honest, completely objectively real, even then you don't get to have the possibility to live. You Why is that supposed, assume, implied? Where did you get that rule out of everything else, And I don't know. Trying to not listen to that other aspect, trying to do something, actually is quite tiresome. Most days become entirely tiresome, unavoidably, but I don't know, it's that tiresomeness that doesn't get to be described anywhere else as any other thing, as any other sensation, as any other feeling. That tiresomeness that leads to something, actually. That tiresomeness that possesses a value, actually, not the tiredness that gets created because everything is as repetitive as always and nothing else. Not the tiresomeness of, yeah, and yet again today we have in front of us the very same handful of tasks, the very same handful of results, the very same handful of nothing, basically. But I don't know. Point is, I think things are great. And I think that, not that I think, in terms of, oh yeah, I think, but don't look at my actions. No, I haven't actually trying to make sure that I haven't doing stuff like that. And sadly, yeah, it's crazy to see how much things get to actually happen and how much the world gets to actually unfold. It's good, it's great. I cannot say that I do not appreciate all of that. At least a bit. Never entirely, but at the very least a bit, and certainly it is surprising still to see how much more is there still to do. How much more is there still to try, and how much left to have to go for. The whole life is short to achieve everything. That's true. Life is short enough to not be capable of achieving all the things that you can ever dream about, but at least one dream can be significant enough to be deserving of being followed. That much is also true. And that much is far more sufficient than any other aspect, and trying to make sure that it is continuously happening is laborious. Yeah. And I don't know. Continuing on that that part is good. I feel always angry when I look around and see, oh no, he had this spark on me and I decided to abandon it. I don't know, and I don't entirely see how it makes sense that you can say that it deserves to be left behind. I can. I am completely with you. I am 100% with you if you tell me that what you were going for was something that you really didn't actually like. What a beautiful thing to be capable of possessing that degree of honesty. What a significant enough quality to be capable of realizing that indeed we weren't really being moved by your desire, by your interest, by your hopes, and finally that you can therefore go for something yourself. But any other form of that, oh no, yeah, I have to stop being delusional. I have to stop being so hopeful. I have to resist from trying to achieve this thing. I don't know, man. I think that's a completely different notion, a completely, absolutely different discussion. And from my point of view, I think it's actually something worth going for. Not, I don't think subtly, actually, simple enough, not something that gains the title of avoidable, gains the title of losable in itself, so to speak. Much of the human essence contained within the aspect of getting to have anything that you actually want. Yet, I see, yeah, in that sense, the strange reality of, no, you shouldn't want anything. You shouldn't want any one thing. You shouldn't have any hope for anything. This very polar vision of that completely opposite reality of the willful, completely willful misinterpretation of live and let's utterly live. It's implied in the words itself. You live your own life and let others live their own life. You don't live your own life and let others kill themselves, you know? Because the notion that lies behind all of that now for real is do not be so attached to anything in the world. Do not be delusional to completely equate all of your value onto one singular attribute of reality, onto one singular aspect of yourself, which is amazing, but not to say, yeah, you have to never try anything because in the act of attachment, it is the person that loses themselves then the one who does so and nothing else. What? And once again, that's the quote-unquote controversial aspect. Oh no, yeah, but you live and you let others live. No, man. If you let somebody else fail because of that, I don't know. You already have your consciousness to set you in relation in regards to that. But you probably already know what's the answer there. You probably already have to some degree an awareness of, maybe not actually, maybe aberrant readings of things, incorrect conclusions don't need to be absolutely sustained. Does it change it that much? That I get to have 2 or 3 words misunderstood in an entire interpretation of a whole book? Not that much. But if a very core principle of myself is finding itself affected to the degree to which my quality of life is now being completely reduced, completely diminished. Maybe at that point it actually is meaningful for you to step up and say, ah, no, wait, brother, you are not actually getting this as it was intended. Hold on a second. It can actually be understood from this other perspective. Don't worry. We can try to talk about this if you're willing. And I don't know. Once again, I have already talked about this before. I hate your specialization and over focus on any kind of niche quality and particular space. The spread of the human incapacity on its very core, that you yourself cannot do the job of saying, of hearing someone else talk out these things, that you yourself cannot say anything meaningful. What? Do you think some people are just born with the quality of being like that? What the fuck do you think happens? We need to work for that. We need to work for 99% of the things that we want to have. Oh no, but do you think about the kid who was born with 5 million? I don't give a fuck about money. We're not talking about that. You are not talking about the material things. We are talking about something completely different here. We are talking about the human spirit in itself and the things that move you in any way, and how all of that means something to you or not, and how all of that can be properly talked about with anyone. You need to be the most proficient specialist to be capable of saying something minimally substantial, you know? Minimally, marginally enough to make a change. Wow. But I don't know. Anyways, I drank enough water, so I will need to take a break. So, give me a second, basically. That's my cue to sleep for a bit. But yeah, I tried to say we're going to be here until 3 hours, so we are a little bit over halfway. Probably take into consideration, yeah. Very, barely halfway there, so yeah. I'm going tight, I guess, or no? Do whatever. Go stretch or something, well, actually. Don't wait for me, only. Go and stretch your legs or something, yes. No, wait. Before I leave, let me actually adjust everything else. Also, thank God it didn't lag anymore, because I was actually going to lose it if it kept lagging. I I didn't even stream yesterday, and now you were going to tell me that, or you were going to tell me that I wasn't going to be capable of streaming today. I was gonna lose it, but no, okay, yeah, give me a second. I'll be back in how long? Who knows? Just wait, and if you can't wait, I don't know, learn to have patience. Thank you. Actually, it's going to take longer because I just broke a crystal bottle I have next to me, so fuck. Anyways. can give you an ASMR experience for a second. Listen to this. No, you cannot listen to that. Anyways, yeah. We'll be right back anyways. Okay, I'm back. Fuck. I didn't mean to break that. Wow. Who means to break a vase? Who could have thought about that? Amazing. Anyways, what's up? Why did one of my things crashed for some reason? Can happen, I guess. Anyways, I'm back. And now I actually do look like the guy from the corner from the climate view. Fuck. Anyways, sometimes you have to break some eggs to make an omelette or something like that. What the fuck did that base have to do with anything? Nothing but I'm not trying to not spiral out of control. Fuck. Anyways, can happen. Whatever. I was thinking basically about the rest stuff, and I have something actually to say. I wait. Ding 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 ding. Idea coming. No, I found something, and I I was annoyed by that the very first encounter of it, and I was like, oh, wow, this is substantial enough to say something, and that was I don't know. I feel like suddenly the very same barrels of what I don't really know exactly where it fits. Let me begin from the notion itself. I have been consuming information lately, not so much from books exactly, but also from the whole aspect of what other people have to say and what not. And I am surprised to see how normalized it is to have so many negative perspectives onto or in regards to stuff basically. Not because let's say like this, not because negativity is ultimately useless. I don't think I'm not an advocate for absolute positivity, radical positivity, it is called. In terms of, yeah, you have to only think out happy thoughts and great things and meaningful stuff and whatnot. It's great to have the capacity to say sometimes when something is bad and whatnot. Yeah, true, correct enough, certainly. But it also is quite significant to be capable of appreciating what you have, what you can do and what's not. Do not lose yourself so much in the spiral of, oh no, this thing is negative, this thing is so bad, it's so harmful, it's so detrimental to me, it's so against my own existence and whatnot. And I find it that, let me phrase it properly or frame it properly. I believe that this probably my own generation is going to grow up with a lot of issues in terms of the things that I have done and whatnot. I guess I don't really want to draw so many similarities because unavoidably conditions were absolutely different, but I feel like this is pretty much going to be something along the lines of what happened with the silent generation, you know? Do you know that one generation that existed during the war times that found their capacities, their capacity to dream first and foremost, and their capacities to deal things in life and whatnot, not all that augmented, basically, the group of people who thought that it truly was absolutely over, that there was truly for real nothing capable of being done in this world and whatnot, that kind of people, that sector of the population, those, something along those lines, I feel like is slowly happening with the modern youth, and I'm surprised to see that in terms of, wow, okay, there is a huge distinction here, because to some degree, it's true. Yeah, echo chambers are a thing that possess enough importance to notice that if this is happening only within an echo chamber, this doesn't really have that much of an impact in the general population. But I feel like it's becoming a rather widespread notion. To some degree, I talk about it. I don't even know if all that directly actually here today. The whole aspect of, oh yeah, AI is going to replace us, for example. The whole desire to have hopelessness notions be so normalized, so accepted, so ingrained in our way of conceiving existence in the future, basically. All of those things are crazy to see. Because in the end, it's not that they cannot be useful. I am quite quite an extremist in terms of maybe most things can be useful if you learn how to phrase them, if you learn how to properly present the usefulness of those things. But in its current form of simply saying, no, so much of the things that I wanted to do. For example, I remember I presented it as a meme some time ago, but there was a meme that said something crazy about AI is going to take your over in the future. What's over, brother? Since nowadays the market is so competitive and it is so hard to actually land a sub in a secure place and whatnot and similar. And while that is to some degree correct, it also is astounding to think that the entirety of the world is going to be over. There is absolutely nothing else that will be capable of being done, that we are somehow I wish I had so much faith as those who vehemently believe that we are going to enter into a state like the Matrix soon enough, because most certainly that is not even remotely going to happen, sadly. Most certainly that is years, light years away, technological advancement away from being accomplishable at any realistic scale. To say, I don't know, yeah, you're right, you're so correct about this, brother. While instead, it doesn't really feel like that. I sadly don't agree that much with negativity. I am a negative person in a very particular way because I prefer the negativity which actually lets you understand anything, not the negativity which comes to just hopelessly destroy you. There is a complete difference between in the aspect of criticism and constructive and negative criticism, basically criticism in itself is negative by default because you are getting told something bad that you are doing. Okay? So it's good to have constructive criticism, to have just absolutely negative, distractful criticism is not really that great, that meaningful in any way, simply put, that capable of doing anything in any manner whatsoever, and yet to see it so normalized, to have it so ingrained as fine, as acceptable, is crazy. It's surprising to see how all of those things are given as factual, are accepted as such, and there is no further discussion about any of those conditions, about any of those aspects, when in reality most of the world is actually quite a surprising thing. There are, in particular, okay, do not go so much in general for the greatness of things and whatnot, or before actually doing so. There is also a lot of, and surprisingly enough, sadly, when you actually try, you encounter that, incredibly enough, indeed, the world does have quite a lot of amazing things, and there are still a lot of opportunities available, and there are still, even nowadays, enough fields that are not finding themselves absolutely destroyed by this uncontrollable machine which has surpassed far and so greatly the human thought and whatnot. Yeah, okay. So, how is it so fine to still say, "Ah, yeah, you're all going to be dominated soon enough"? What the fuck are you talking about? Do you talk from an informed position? Are you actually seeing how many issues it is actually having right now from all fronts? Are you aware? Are you consuming information about these things? Are you staying up to date with this phenomena? It's beautiful to hear, to listen, to encounter, to see so many people, so many pieces of the population talk about this thing being a problem and just agree with them. But when you put yourself to the task of finding out, things also become much clearer. The picture which you get to have stops being the one of, ah, yeah, people are saying, and you start to understand what is actually happening. And once you actually do so, sadly, in this case, it isn't really that alarming anymore. Sadly, the world becomes more boring yet again. So much of what it does relies on itself. So much of the stuff that happens relies on such huge amounts of money that are slowly running out. So many of the things that we dreamed were going to be happening right now, months ago, have proven to be unachievable on a very basic level because of all these problems. So many people are abandoning the ship from a general viewpoint because they find themselves tired of this thing. So many issues are arising at a global level because different countries are getting fucking irritated by this same thing. Do you understand how little of a problem it actually is? Or are you just, I heard 10,000 people say that this is bad, and I am going to agree with all of them. I'm not going to at all try myself to see if this is the case. I will yet again just become yet another sheep in the herd, which goes along the lines, "Be, it's all bad." No, brother, do me a favor and inform yourself. Do me a favor and try some things out for yourself. It's the same thing that I was talking about before. It's surprising to see how easy it is to sometimes fail and fall victim to those repeated ideas, to those completely maddening notions that are spread out there. And sadly, as I was saying, in this case, it isn't entirely so much about the aspect of this is particularly an echo chamber. The mainstream does have quite a huge notion of, oh no, yeah, this is the future, this is significant enough. What are you talking about? what are we talking about? It's so unimportant. It ended up being so uneventful. So many things are still so much the same. We learn to have a handful of implementations which are slowly increasing our quality of life, but most of the significant aspects are still so far behind. We are, if you are listening to this right now, as in 2026, 2027, 2028 or so, so back in time, we are not going to be the generations that see all of those things be as advanced. Well, what a beautiful desire that is, but that's not going to happen, sadly. Things are not really going to change that much. Not because the world remains the same no matter what. No, 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 no. Because we are not really that good. And even when it is that amazing, we don't really have that much to actually push for these things forward, to make sure that it happens, to make sure that people adopt the technology, to make sure that the world entire agrees to this being the new norm. It's crazy to see how sometimes it's so easy to just agree with whatever goes around. But I don't know, it's there was a notion, a notion. What? How do you say the word? Subtitles, notion. So that. Anyways, Notion, notion, as in piece of information, idea that has been floating around lately, and that is surprising. Not lately actually. Unsurprisingly, so much of the world has also reached a point of stagnation. And I don't know, I don't think so. I think it's surprisingly enough. Yet it's still such a new ground. Sadly, it has a lot to do with what I mentioned before of there are so many institutions already created, so many pieces of information already discovered, so many other things to have to understand before getting to say anything in the places in which it actually matters, that what does it actually imply for the average person? For the uninformed human being, it is impossible to say anything of substance. For those who get to understand about this stuff, there is still such a huge field of options available out there. There is still such an open place to play, such a great playground. The world still remains. The only issue, in that sense, what I said before, way too many of these changes are being filtered through the lens of hyper-specialization. You need to be a very good person in relation to this quality, to this capacity, to this performance, to this one certain aspect of yourself and whatnot. When that doesn't really have to be entirely the case, that doesn't really need to be entirely the case, that gets described as such without it not being completely true, without it not being completely accurate, and many times it also gets accepted as such, even if it isn't entirely true, even if it isn't entirely significant or representative of the world. And even so, even more so, this is the thing that I struggle with the most also. Hyper specialization isn't that complicated sometimes. It takes a bit for me to actually accept because, yeah, sometimes it's so simple to actually get to have a good enough understanding of this stuff. A surface level understanding is enough for some notions. Once you get to have a surface level, you get to see, wow, I did actually have no clue about what I was talking about before. The whole, I don't know, it isn't entirely correct, but the whole Dunning-Kruger effect, I guess. I see. I get to barely see. And with this much barely, I get to finally understand that it isn't really as over. Whereas, in the other hand, when I believe that it is truly the worst, that there is truly nothing to be done, I don't really get to have any kind of satisfaction. I don't really get to have any kind of desire to do anything else. And that's when things get difficult, messy, annoying, bad. So yeah, it's not really hyper specialization. The problem, it's or lies in the reality that, yeah, there is no true incentive for you to get good at something. So most of the time, the world itself doesn't push you towards that. Your environment, your community, your social circle, your family, whatever does, but the world itself in its entirety, the universe that is existence right now, has stopped having an interest on that, or to some degree, unavoidably, there is no world, so to speak. It is impossible to measure what the will of the universe is as a whole, because it is so much fucking stuff to actually measure it into anything. What are we talking about? You believe that the entirety of the 7 billion, 8 billion of people that are alive right now can understand anything? Can reach one single agreement? Are you crazy? And you believe that therefore the entire world is going to be capable of saying, yeah, you should get good at something. How many people are good at anything to begin with? To say that, yeah, this is true because we all have that happen to us. You are only missing out. You are the only one who doesn't. It's just that, yeah, point itself relies on, simply put, you have a necessity for more capacities to be existent. And the current model, that's that much I can actually give you. The current model of going about this thing does have a huge problem, reliant, existent, being sustained by the way of assuming, of necessitating so much of a validation from these particular spaces of, yeah, you need to go to an academical course, you need to go to a very professional place to become good enough at these things. And many times it is meaningless for what the goals of the person are. There is something far more significant, and that is the understanding of what you achieve by also having that, by also doing it through this way, by also becoming good in this one manner that the world presents to us. And so much of the spirit of interest that used to be, I wouldn't really say common, no, I'm actually lying, used to be talked about simply, used to be so much described before of, but we people of the modern era have to be aware of why we are doing things. We people of the post-modern era have to be capable of assessing what we are doing, for which purpose, under which reason, by which force, serving to what power and what not. Nowadays isn't as livid anymore. Nowadays isn't as existent anymore, and sadly, there are not enough actual justifications for things. Yet anyways we still act in accordance to all of those desires, now without even needing or being willing to say that, no, yeah, you know what, and I want to do something, you have to do it this way. Okay, can I ask you why? No. No more is there any interest in asking. There is just, it's not, I like when people say obedience. You are assuming that you are fucking free. You don't understand that you have the possibility of asking. You are fucking terrified of getting shot in the head if you decide to talk about why things are the way they are. Do you understand that that is not freedom, liberty, the possibility to do anything? That's not life, that's oppression. And most people don't really believe that they can ask, don't really believe that there is something to be asked. Most people nowadays are completely accustomed to, okay, this is all that there is, and if things are this way, then I shall just follow the way. I shall just follow the given path and do whatever I can along those very simple lines that have been traced for me. I must assume, I must believe, and not much else. And therefore, unavoidably, so much of life ends up becoming unsurprisingly dull, unsurprisingly boring, and unsurprisingly tasteless. It's something about getting to have a life of, I don't want to say value, it's simply a rich life, so to speak, rich in experiences, so to speak, has a lot also to do with the aspect of getting to recognize what in itself are the presence of others contributing, are the presence of those other aspects bringing forward, are the presence of those other realities allowing and such, and what are the chances themselves representing so much of an abandonment of any conversation that has to do with, yeah, I myself actually hoping for, I myself actually working towards, and I don't know, I don't I don't really think I agree with all of that in terms of it isn't truly acceptable. It's barely understandable that yeah, I am terrified of doing something so much. I don't like to do that myself so much in most cases because it is the easy answer out simply. But yeah, most of the time it sadly just is that I don't really wish to go for any other explanation. I don't really wish to go for any other interpretation. I can do that. And I can stick to my ways without needing to change anything else. So I will remain there. And I will. The safety of. The safety and comfort of the present shall not be disturbed. And that is bad. Indeed, I do believe that is bad actually. Also, we are lagging for some reason. We started to lag pretty hard actually. Is it is it actually over? Are we fucking over, man? Can we let me drink some water. I guess I will give it like 30 seconds or so. If it keeps lagging, it has been lagging for the last minute, I think so. Okay, there we go. And I don't know. I am just amazed by most of these things. It's at least I used to hear so much about how we in the current life, in the current landscape, and more than anything else, the whole notion of yeah, you have to grow up and you have to become an independent person. Really? You think so? I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen. I find around me almost nobody actually are that independent. So, I'm an amazing potato, thank you. Welcome. Welcome, Spike. Spike? Spike Hale. No, no. It's, for me, it always has that quality of strangeness, I guess. And I am crazy, I believe. I'm surprised by all of that. Japonismus, absolutely. Always will try to be one. Yes. Yeah. And I don't know, it's when we get the potato transformation. No, in this house we don't follow Teto. How do you say it in English actually? I don't even know how you say it in English. Teto? Ito. So that it is. No, yeah. I know the Vocaloid. I know. Teto? Vocaloid? Ah, do you say it says Vocaloid? I don't think so. You are joking with me. Also, my streamer bot crashed. Amazing. I will need to restart this thing. Fuck. Let me. Give me a second. Don't you love when I. Give me a second. Why do I have to screw up? Why is this world condemning me? Why is essence just suffering? Is being just condemned to be always struggle? Perhaps. Maybe. Also, we're lying again. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to absolutely lose it. We're lying again. No? Yes, we lost like 50 frames. Who knows? Put data. Amazing. I can use this PNC right now. No, I won't because this isn't a PNC, right? This is a JPEG. No, yeah, I'm not going to use this. I take back what I said. Dexis, Paxis. Also, why is this thing on red? I am not lying. What the fuck is going on? Bitrate? Are you having a stroke? Twitch bitrate? What's up? I got scared for no reason whatsoever. Anyway, as I said so, hope you're doing good, Spike. And also, so many things crash because I lag. Amazing. Don't you love internet? It's such a fantastic piece, such a fantastic phenomenon. Waves, radio waves, transferring through the very same space which before used to just be filled with air and all the toxic agents that we used to throw around. Nothing else. But no, anyways. I was saying, basically, if this isn't lying, yeah, okay, we haven't lost any more frames, I suppose. No, I don't suppose, I see it. Yeah, I was saying, when I don't know, I feel like I am amazed by the reality of also how many of these notions in terms of yeah, it's actually all that unachievable and such. It's the normalization of things is always the easiest route to go when you try to think out why you are being affected by such things, by such ideas, by such ideas. Even ideology itself is a representative enough idea always, and it's not truly all that important. The person, the freedom, the notion was the autonomy of the adult life is not really all that existent because in the end, most of the things that we get to possess nowadays rely quite a lot, not exactly on you depending on others, but on you agreeing with others and on you being capable of explicitating what others also want to listen to. You are not really an independent human being, even if you are an adult, a quote-unquote adult. Most of the things that you get to hear are simply parroted notions possessed by some other individual, which was at some other point in time far more or is more powerful than you to the degree to which it makes sense to agree with them, but after that, everything else in the chain of command lives or leads to the current person not really needing to also agree with those very same notions. So much of the, no, yeah, things are so hopeless. Do you understand what you're saying? Or you're just going along the line, moving along with the flow, so to speak, following. Because, I don't know, what if I don't say that things are bad? What if we don't say that things are going minimally wrong and whatnot? What will be of us if we make ever the effort to not be so destroyed by these very same realizations that come with such a great awareness of the world entire? And I don't know, I believe in a way that is that, yeah, it is quite a meaningless section. Unsurprisingly, so much of what we get to have gets to be so much more important than what we can ever realize sometimes. So much of what we have to do relies far more on actually exploring what is available out there. And sadly, I don't know, I hate the naivety with which all of that gets answered in terms of, oh no, but you know how hard all of that is? Do you know how complicated it is to develop a view of your own, to be your own self-made person? Wow. Do you think you're the first person ever who realized that? Do you think you're the first human alive ever who got up to this reality? Do you think you are the first one who said, no, yeah, indeed, this is so hard to do, to accomplish, to get to? No, just like many more. And you can do that, actually. That's the surprising part. That you can go through the whole aspect of exploring. That you can go through the whole aspect of developing things, notions, awareness, and whatnot. That it isn't set in stone. Yet on the other hand, what matters is just agreeing, just saying, yeah. Or saying, sorry, yeah, you know what, this is so real, man, this is so hard, this is so complicated, this is absolutely unsolvable, this is in one way or another over, and I don't know, at least I don't really like how much all of that is getting normalized, taken not for granted, but rather as an indisputable truth in terms of yeah. You don't really have to be interested in thinking about this. You don't really have to be willing to talk out any of these aspects of life. You don't really need to look out for those parrots. And you, more than anything else, you have no reason to actually profess your interest in learning about things which make your existence in the end less annoying, because, unsurprisingly enough, so many of those weights are absolutely harmful, are absolutely detrimental. There is, I can agree that there is a handful of the roads that are great to not obsess over in terms of, no, even if you get to make sense out of them, you're going to just harm yourself when you try to find an answer to this, like, what's the understandment you are trying to talk about? For example, you are trying to talk about, is God a real? Do you really need to spend your entire life answering this question if you don't have such a fanatic belief in God? I don't think so. I don't really believe it's that important or significant to answer. I don't really believe you yourself as a single human being will have to go against God to prove its non-existence or prove its truthiness. modern current day offers far more possibilities than just staying stuck at the very same old problem, which has at this point I guess almost proved unsolvable with the current tools at our disposal. But that means that maybe I can make no, don't be. It's great to have hopes. Don't be delusional, brother. I encourage people doing things, not people throwing away their life essence for the sake of believing whichever thing. It's also reasonable to be capable of setting down some boundaries and saying, yeah, okay, if I am going to dream, I am going to do it in a way in which I can know that what I do is accomplishable. And even if I don't feel like kind of it is accomplishable, even if I set such a high goal up there that will take me my entire life, I know that any accomplishment along the lines of this very same thing satisfy me. That any other of the goals that come along with saying that I am working on this thing are also good for me and also fulfilling in one way or another. Also, what the fuck happened? Why did my neighbors wake up? Anyways, if you listen to music blasting, excuse my neighbors, they have something. But whatever. And I don't know, I feel like at least it's possible to say that we try to learn about something at the very least. That's also something that I am so annoyed by. I try to not talk about it as much because it is the continuous realization of what the fuck has been happening with all of these discussions. Where are the people who say that they are working on things? Where are the people who say that they are hoping for stuff, that they have some dream in mind, that they are still looking out there and having that spark of emotion be alive in them? Where are those? Where are the people who wants to achieve and wants to move themselves towards goals? Somehow all of that feels almost non-existent now, feels and finds itself almost impeded, almost completely negated, completely disqualified from being. And I don't know, I guess to some degree, I'm not entirely saying this is the most necessary aspect. I can agree quite a lot with the reality that no, yeah, oversharing and to even understand what is actually oversharing, it's quite complicated because nowadays nobody fucking does share to begin with, so almost all could then be called oversharing perhaps. So who knows what is actually oversharing? But in what has to do with the fact of oversharing your dreams is dangerous. There is something magnificent about how much nobody wants anything, is that because you can find something that you can say therefore you want, I can also imply that I want the same thing as you, go along the line, follow your play of interest, and find out what I can gain from doing so, find out if I can take up your place. I don't have to worry about conceiving my own desire if I can instead embody yours. What a great thing. So, realistically, it's a sensible enough notion that nowadays has been popularized enough to be so present in terms of, yeah, nobody wants to really be that open about, perhaps it's time to work towards bringing forward. It's just annoying to see that it doesn't happen, and I don't know. Personally, this much I can say. Personally, I have been trying to actually make sure that this is happening around the people that I get to have a minimum amount of conversations with. Something great to see people having hopes for something. It's absolutely disappointing to see somebody. I used to not get. I used to not really understand that it wasn't so much of a shock. There is this one line. I don't really remember exactly the reference, but it was a comedian who said something along the lines of, it's strange to see somebody who is literally doing nothing, who is working on nothing, gaining nothing, studying nothing, being nothing itself. Somebody who you know who is nothing. And I remember it was received with laughter. Now I understand a little bit that, it makes so much sense to actually see somebody being completely still in their life. And actually, it isn't sad. It isn't, no, on the opposite, it isn't strange. It is absolutely depressing. You know how sad it is to actually see somebody being absolutely unwilling to work on things, absolutely unwilling to make any effort to change, absolutely unwilling to discover something new. It's so crazy to think still about how many possibilities were being offered, and anyways, I agree that all of that has to remain the same. What do you even mean, brother? There are such an infinite amount of open fields for all of that, and yet here we are acting like none of them matter. It's crazy. At least for me, it's crazy. And I don't know. As I was saying, basically, it's understandable now that, yeah, this is actually relevant in terms of, sadly, it does get to feel strange when you see somebody who is nothingness itself. Not because it actually is bad, but rather because it's bad in the current state of the world. Do not hope for anything, do not go for anything. But I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I'm slowly getting my sanity drained away by these fucking neighbors. So yeah, this is it for today, I guess. Almost close enough to 3 hours, so I am happy. But yeah, how much time? 80%? Almost. Well, yeah, 80% basically of stream done towards the 3 hours mark, so good enough for me. But yeah, I guess we're done, basically. Nothing much to add. Thank you for everything. It was good, as always, sorry. Thank you for the time, the patience, the interest, the attention, the all. As always, take care, stay hydrated, rest, rest properly, be responsible, hope for things, work on something, plant a tree, write a book. No, I don't know about those last two, but yeah. And whenever we can, we're getting back here. I think tomorrow, and after tomorrow, I have no clue. But yeah, that's it for today. And even if we don't get back here, still thank you for everything. So now, last thing as always, goodbye, take care, and bye bye.